I don't want to waste your time, so there won't be an intro. Today, we're going to talk about a round in the grand finals of the Raleigh Major between G2 and Team Empire. I guess I'm a bit late on that, but as some of you might already know, I started working as a coach for Rogue a few months ago, and that basically took all the time I had available. But let's get to the interesting things. The reason I picked this round is because it really highlights something I love about Siege, which is that you can literally win rounds before the game has even started. The round I'm about to show here was not won in that exact moment. Instead, it was won a day earlier or so, whenever Zua or Shaz came up with this strat. But to appreciate the genius of this strat, we need to set up a few things. This right here is not the round I want to talk about. This one actually happened a day earlier in the semifinals against Team Secret. Let's look at how Empire sets up their server hold here. The key things to note are first of all Castle, who castles off every door towards waiting and tellers, and then the Mute, who opens the floor above the site, so Empire can defend server and workshop from above. And you'll notice that this is the key to the strat, because they use 9 of the 10 reinforcements on the top floor. Here you can see how the final setup looks like, and as you can see, they really want to hold top floor here. Walls in armory and office, rotation in archive to radio, holes in the floor, and 4 people starting top floor. So let's look at how Secret attacks this hold, and more importantly, how Empire reacts to it. Here you can see that Secret basically just ignores the top floor and instead goes straight for customs and passport, with Buck and Hibana passport and IQ customs. Now, it's not unusual for the defense to start the round holding top floor, but usually you'd rotate at least 1, if not 2 players down if you notice that the attackers are not trying to clear the top floor. But look at this right here. Secret controls around 75% of the bottom floor, yet Empire is fine with only having Castle on site and are continuing to play 4 people top. The reason for this is, of course, that you need exactly 4 players to watch every single doorway into the site from above. You can see ventilation door from bunker, server door from armory, workshop door and wall from archives, and teller's hall from office. And not only can you see all of the doors, but you are also favored in every single engagement because you will always see their feet just before they have a chance to shoot you. Now that we've understood the idea behind Empire Strat, we only need one more crucial piece of information to make the setup complete. And that is that Empire is literally playing this exact strat every single time with only very minor changes. And with that in mind, it's finally time to look at how G2 use that to their advantage. We'll start in the prep phase, and as you can see, Empire's operator lineup is exactly the same as against Secret, and so are the reinforcements. The only relevant change is that one of the castle barricades is now in beepers instead of toilet door. But apart from that, everything is pretty much exactly the same. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room. What in God's name is G2's operator selection? No Heart Breach, Montagne, and Glass. If that lineup doesn't raise eyebrows, I don't know what does. And seeing that, you can be sure that something interesting is about to happen. As you might have guessed by now, this lineup and the strategy you're about to see are specifically made to counter this particular strat from Team Empire. Otherwise, this lineup would be hot garbage. The round starts somewhat similar to how the Secret round started, with the attackers taking control of customs, and right off the bat there's something interesting here. Fabian almost gets caught off guard by Castle here, and it's only because of a bit of luck that he survives. But the way this happened is kind of weird. Usually, you would instantly aim at this corner right after destroying the default cam, precisely to prevent what just happened. But for some reason, one of the best players in the world doesn't do it. Now, I might be reading a bit too much into it here, but a possible explanation could be that he had too much trust in the prep. Because, based on the Secret game, he would expect that the entire hallway was castled off, so there would be no reason for him to aim at that angle. Well, whatever ended up being the real cause, G2 just killed the only anchor on Team Empire. And based on the round against Secret, you might be able to predict how Empire reacts to that. Exactly, they are doing nothing. No one drops, everyone continues to play their designated position. And like I said before, with 4 guys top floor, you can watch every single doorway leading to site, so in theory, you might be able to get away with not playing anyone in server. And at this point, a normal attack really runs the risk of stalling out, because even though G2 has manpower advantage, they are still outside the objective with Empire controlling every single way in. And since G2 is already so deep into the map, it would be kind of hard for them to rotate away now to clear the top floor. But of course, G2 knew that they would end up in this exact situation, so they centered their entire team composition around this moment. The play here is to breach the soft wall with Buck and Sophia, then smoke off that breach so Glass can play angles into Workshop, while Montagna is planting inside the breach under the cover of the smokes. This strat expertly combines the strengths of both Glass and Montagna, both of which are super situational, and especially the Montagna pick is really impressive here because usually you only think about Montagna in terms of covering the planter and not being the planter himself, because while he does put a shield on his back while planting, which definitely improves the chance of getting it down, his legs are still exposed for the entire duration of the plant. But the thing here, and this is really one of the only situations where that would ever be relevant, is that Montagna isn't threatened by a horizontal angle here, but rather by a 45-degree angle from above, like the one Mute is playing here. And for angles like these, the shield on Montagna's back is in the perfect position, which is why he can get the plant down. The reason why Glass is integral to the strat is because he denies exactly those horizontal angles that Montagna is vulnerable to. Right? G2 didn't expect to get an early kill on Castle. In their plan, Castle was still hiding somewhere in the back of Workshop or Server, and they also needed something to deal with potential C4s from both Mute and Valk. And Glass is doing exactly that. With him on Overwatch, you can probably get the plant down 90% of the time here. And G2 does get the plant down, but obviously the round isn't over yet. However, getting the bomb down in Rainbow gives you a huge advantage. I wouldn't be surprised if post-plant win rate for attackers was something along the lines of 80%. But let's look at this specific situation. Remember, just before the plant, Empire had 4 guys top floor, and during the plant, after they realized that they couldn't stop it from above, Mute and Dog drop Archive Hatch, Valk drops Mini Hatch, and Jaeger rotates into CC, only to find out that the hatch is not open. As for G2's post-plant setup, it's a bit hard to see on stream, so let's switch to the slide. We already know that Montagna, Sophia and Glass are occupied with the plant, but G2's main priority here is to make sure that it cannot be flanked, because when planting in a situation where 4 defenders are still alive, you 100% know that someone is trying to flank. And here you can really see why it makes so much sense to focus all of your efforts into getting the plant down. With these castle barricades and CC hatch not being open, there is a grand total of 1 route that you can be flanked by. And this is watched by Fabian from Supply Closet. Now, even though their east side flank was protected by these castle barricades, you still need some kind of insurance on that side, because if one of the C4 players dropped into waiting and destroyed the castle barricade, G2 would have been caught with their pants down. This is why they had Uno on E stairs for the entire round. Okay, these are the positions. Now, who is favored? I just said 1 second ago that post-plant attackers are favored about 80-20, but I feel like most of the advantage comes from the fact that usually the attackers can defend the bomb from outside of the map, which isn't really possible here. However, G2 is still obviously favored to win. They are a man up, they've got their flanks under control, and the bomb was planted somewhat in the open. But just as strategy plays an important role when it comes to winning a round, so does gun skill. And yeah, can't really do much if Kazeka and Joystick decide to land these shots. Luckily for G2 though, Kanto and Pango managed to stop the bleeding and stabilize in a 2v2. And this right here is again heavily attacker-sided. Dan can't afford to check bathroom because Kanto could have held every possible angle in the hallway, and then Joystick is stuck between Pango and Kanto, and he has to rip the barricade down, so there's no way he wins that one. Actually though, really important that Pango isn't afraid to shoot here, even though he's one-shot, because, well, it's only a crossfire if you have 2 people shooting. Now, before I finish this up, I want to quickly go back to the situation that enabled this almost comeback. Fabian dying to Kazeka pushing out of server door. Obviously, you could say that he hit a god shot and leave it at that, and honestly that's probably fine. but I still want to point out the correct play here. Instead of holding the angle on Gun, Fabian should have been on this drone right here and only peek after he sees Karzeka coming through the door. By holding the angle flat out, he just becomes a victim of Pika's advantage. That being said though, I'm pretty sure that the bug is favored here, even if he is holding the angle directly, but I'm also pretty sure that being on drone here would have improved his odds. And this really is what Rainbow is about on a pro level, right? Making use of every single possible advantage to increase your odds by those small but crucial percents. If Fabian wins this fight here, G2 win the whole round with flying colors, and it's not even close. Because that little mishap aside, G2 won that round on the evening before. They saw how Empire played against Secret, they knew that Empire was going to play the exact same strat again, and they came up with a really nice strat to take advantage of it. And this is probably the only time you will ever see this particular strat, because in a vacuum, it's just garbage. If waiting isn't castled, you're screwed. If the defenders are playing more than one anchor, you're screwed. If the defenders have a cam on that part of Workshop, you're screwed. Hell, if the defenders had CC Edge open, G2 would have lost that round. It's only because Zua and Shaz spotted all of these small intricacies that they were able to make this strat work. And this is why I think that Siege is an amazing game. Thanks for watching.